It's in a pretty dark place myself.
Yeah.
Massively uncomfortable for me.
Life could also be freaking awesome.
Yeah, completely not mentally healthy.
Actually, it's okay to feel these things. Yeah. This also has to be modelled at home.
Yeah.
Child mental health kind of declining.
Do you want to tell me a bit about what it is that you do? Because we had a brief chat the other day, and the reason for getting you in here, I think, led on from Kevin's one, because that was more the physical side of things, but I'm also interested in more the mental side as well, and then how all that kind of links together.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I can give you the short version and then the kind of longer version into why I'm so passionate about doing what I do. So I am now a personal development coach.
Yeah.
So I work with children, teens, and I'm going to say adults, but I'm kind of doing a lot of work with parents.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll explain a little bit more about kind of the link between why I think that's really important. But I was a therapist, so I was a music therapist for 15 years, and I worked predominantly in the school kind of education system. With children with behavioural and emotional difficulties. And the reason that I kind of got into that was because I myself was a child who had difficulties.
Okay.
I moved up from London when I was 6.
Right.
I was a very confident, happy Greek kid.
Yeah.
And then I was put into a situation, kind of an environment where there weren't any other kids like me. There wasn't many kind of different cultures and things when I moved up in 1990.
Yeah.
There was, but not in the school that I was in, and I was never made to feel kind of accepted. And I went through the kind of primary school. I was really happy at the age of 6. By the age of 11 I had an eating disorder.
Okay.
So I'd kind of gone down disordered eating. By my mid-teenage years I was kind of dabbling in recreational drugs. I was just everything possible to try and fit in with people.
Sure.
And that had a knock-on effect all the way into my 20s.
Yeah.
You know, I was successful in the sense that, yes, I studied and I became a therapist. I did it at a master's level. But there was elements of my personal life that just were in absolute shambles.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was to do with my relationships.
Okay.
So, yeah, I got to the point in my early 30s, and this was as a therapist, where I was kind of crying into my morning cup of tea.
Right.
And being like, I just don't want to be here anymore. So that's kind of what started my own personal development journey.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a Tony Robbins podcast. I came across. It was like one of his TEDx talks, and something.
Yeah, I watched a lot of them when I was in a pretty dark place myself.
Yeah,
actually.
People love him or hate him. I personally love him. I mean, some of his ways are maybe a bit questionable, but
certainly unorthodox.
But there was something in it that sparked something in me, and I think that's what gets me about personal development, is that you can recommend things to everybody. Something has to spark with an individual.
Yeah.
And then I became obsessed, like obsessive. It almost became like, you know, when you find something, maybe a bit like training, you know, like when you get into something. And that came later for me when I got into my own training. But it was like when I came home from work, the first thing I wanted to do was, you know, go upstairs and listen to podcasts, read my books. You know, I was actually going, do I really want to go out with my friends tonight, or do I want to continue my work? It became obsessive.
That's when you know that you're passionate about something.
So that kind of, and so I actually found a coach for myself. So I experienced coaching, and for me it was life-changing. And that's, you know, I've had therapy, I've done counselling. It's something you have to do when you become a therapist. You have to undergo a year of your own therapy anyway, just as part of it. So I'd done a few different kind of modalities, and you know, have much respect for all of them, but it was the coaching that really impacted me. So that's why I thought, actually, I want to train. At the time, it wasn't because I wanted to become a coach. It was just I wanted to do my training. So I did my diploma in transformational coaching.
Okay.
And then COVID hit, and I lost 95% of my music therapy business.
Wow.
Because obviously I was in schools, hospitals, care homes.
Yeah.
So I kind of used that time to go, well, actually, I'll just start a new business. And I jumped into the online space very unluringly. And then here I am 5 years later.
Yeah. So, and did it work out straight away, or was it a bit of a grind?
I mean, it's still a grind. Not going to lie. The online space is very noisy, especially with coaches of all different types. And I think I struggled to kind of find my way initially because I didn't know what kind of coach I wanted to be.
Okay.
I knew I wanted to do personal development work, but I was talking to everybody.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did know from the very beginning was that I wanted to do work with children, and I think it was on the back of, we were hearing all the news reports of child mental health kind of declining through COVID. The CAMHS wait list was up. I think at one point it was up at like 2 years.
Yeah, we never even bothered trying for the CAMHS list for 1 hour.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like we don't even bother trying. I think the suicide rates dramatically increased.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, before I became a therapist, I had been working in primary schools. My mum was a teacher, so I've kind of been working with children, doing confidence work from the age of 18. I would go in and help. It was like school shows, music shows, because music's obviously my background. Getting them to feel confident to be able to get on stage and read lines and help them remember stuff. So I've been doing this work for like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So at the time I was like, I can do something. I don't have wait lists. So I started to create, it was a project at the time. Now it's kind of like it's a staple of my business. I created Club Awesome, which is essentially it's a personal development. It's a 6-week personal development course online for children.
Yeah.
I did children between 8 to 12. I'm now creating Teen Awesome. And it's basically all of the stuff that I heard people say that they wished they'd had at school. Now, I think the school system is brilliant, and I know a lot of people have a lot to say about it. I have many friends who are teachers. My mum was a teacher. I see the work that goes in to the education system. The issue that we have is obviously budget cuts, resources.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a postcode lottery, depending on what school you're in, depending on what kind of support you get.
Yeah.
And it's not a case that they're not teaching it. It's just the way they're being allowed to teach it isn't maybe the way that is going to kind of sink in more beneficially. So, I've always said, why don't we just, a lot of parents say to me, why don't they teach this in school? Well, they do, but it's just not done maybe as intensively as we need it to be done, and as early as we need it to be done.
Sure.
Like, I think that we should be teaching personal development, sets of confidence skills, resilience building skills. What is self-esteem? How do we build self-esteem? We should be brushing our teeth. We should be, eating healthily. We should be building self-esteem. These things should be a staple. Yeah. But they're not.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, is there a fix for it? Like you're saying, like it's kind of potluck where you are, how involved they are in that. But is there? And obviously the budget cuts and things as well, and it's not as intimate as one-to-one, obviously, because you've got a lot of children. But is there a fix? Do you see a way of them sorting that so it's more? It's still not going to be the same level as like one-to-one, but it could improve.
So this is a really difficult question, and there's many reasons why I've thought about this so often. There are many elements I think that we've got going on, especially today since COVID. I think a lot of things have changed since COVID. We have bigger classes. So like you say, the whole one-to-one system, we have much bigger classes. We have a lot more inclusion of the SEND, children, kind of children with special educational needs and disabilities in classes. We have, parents who themselves, and this is kind of going on to the element of working with parents, we have parents themselves who were never taught how to deal with stuff. And that's the difference between men and women. We have a lot of men who don't want to talk about things or don't feel like they can or don't know how to, because they've got to be the support system, or they've got to be, the person who has to have it all together. We're then modelling that down to our kids. So the way we deal with things is going to, in some way, shape how our children deal with things.
Absolutely.
So therefore, if we're trying to teach children certain things, absolutely, in schools, this also has to be modelled at home.
It's massive on the modelling, because they do shadow and they do follow what you're doing.
So this is why, you know, the education system, I think it would be like trying to beat a dead horse, trying to change the system, because it is what it is, and for some part it is brilliant, and it does a lot of children a lot of good. There are also a lot of children who it doesn't do anything for. There's a brilliant graphic actually about I think it's an Einstein quote. Like, I'm gonna butcher the quote, but it's a picture, and it's you know, a teacher, I think it's supposed to be Einstein, sitting at a desk.
I know what you mean.
And it's the fish, the goldfish, the monkey, like I don't know what, I don't know, the giraffe, and then it says, today we're going to do a test, and the test is go and climb that tree. Okay, so the monkey's going to ace that test, but the fish is probably going to think, well, I'm rubbish, I can't do that. And that, to me, I talk about this graphic to all, especially my little kiddos that I work with, because, you know, we're asking them to sit assessments that just might not be how their brain works. And so how are they going to then feel after that? They're going to feel rubbish. When that seed is planted really early on, that has such a huge knock-on effect later on in life. So the education system, like I said, is brilliant for some, not so brilliant for others. But one of the things that I believe that we can do as the adults, as the parents, is really start to look at our own shit. And go, how is that having an effect on my child or my niece or my nephew or the children who are looking up to me? And so that's why on the back of Club Awesome and Teen Awesome, I also now have created Empowered Parenting. So I want to work
full package.
You know, both ends. I love working with the kids, but I do something called support coaching, where I work with the child and the parent. So that, you know. And
do you find that, like, the results of that, the speed of things changes, does it improve with working with both sides?
It's certainly, say improves, I think it certainly changes the dynamic in a family, because when a child, I mean, it's you know, communication is such a huge part of what we should be working on. You know, when we think of like emotional intelligence and self-awareness, if we can't communicate any of that, then it's kind of pointless. It's healthy for, you know, if you come home from work and you've had a bad day, and your kids will pick up on that energy, because they are like little sponges, even if they haven't got the developmental
to verbalize it.
To be able to understand what's going on, they will pick up on that energy. Whereas if you were to go home and be like, oh, do you know what? Not feeling 100%. Like, I have an emotion wheel I use with everybody, and I always have all my clients go, right, put this on your fridge, so that you can go to the emotion wheel and you can actually pick out, like, I'm feeling really frustrated today because, you know, this happened, and then it made me feel like this. Now, that then teaches children how to communicate themselves, because then they'll be like, oh, it's normal to feel, because I don't know about you, but how often when you were at school it was bad to be angry? You were punished for feeling angry. Obviously you were punished for the thing that you did because you were angry, but essentially it came from anger. Anger is a really healthy emotion. Like, when you look at the emotion wheel, the one specifically that I use has 7 core basic emotions. I'm gonna get this right now. So happy, sad, bad, disgusted, fearful, surprised, and there's another one, I can't remember what it is. But out of the 7 core basic emotions, how many of them do you think are rooted in what we would call positive feelings?
So not many, so they're all quite negative.
1.5, because surprise can, I think, be both bad and good. 1.5 are rooted in positive. The rest are rooted in negative. We are hardwired to feel more negative. Because that goes back to the days when we had to.
And if it's anything other than happy, then it's a bad thing.
So how flipping exhausting is it to try and expect someone to feel happy all of the time and be happy all of the time? It's exhausting. It's not realistic. So therefore, why are we putting that on kids? Why aren't we showing them that actually I see that you're angry, I see that you're feeling. Now, in anger, there are a whole load of different feelings that are rooted in anger. So just to say, you feel angry, why not, you know, you feel, furious, or you feel infuriated by something, or you feel insecure, or you feel, you know, you can actually kind of get in amongst all the different feelings.
Yeah.
So that they don't just go, I'm the angry kid. It could be actually, I felt like you disrespected me. You know, all of these feelings are rooted in anger.
Yeah.
And then we've got fear, and then it's a case of communicating how you're feeling, and by dropping these into conversations,
Just becomes normal language.
You're teaching your children that actually it's okay to feel these things.
Yeah.
But instead of going, I'm angry, I don't know what to do with this anger, I'm going to go and punch a wall, or I'm going to go and hit my little brother or sister.
Yeah.
You know, they can say, I feel really angry, I feel like I want to hit something, or I feel this, and then you can be like, right, obviously communication when we're in that kind of state is difficult, and the reason being is because our brain shuts down. When we go into any kind of negative feeling state to an extreme, our brain goes into like essential survival mode.
Yeah, so you'll probably know a lot more about this than me, but the Chimp Paradox, amazing book, really good, the child's version and the adult's version. And just explaining that, like, I think it's 3 parts of the brain. So you've got like your intelligent thought process, which is never the one that reacts first.
Nope.
It's always the chimp brain that reacts first. So you're right, emotionally first. And for younger people, that is all they can do for quite a bit.
I mean, this is what fascinated me when I got into this, because when I really started getting into this, the neuroscience part of it, I mean, I'm the most unscientific person ever. The joke is I have a Master of Science.
Okay.
Music therapy was the social science, so it became a Master and MSc. But the neuroscience stuff really fascinates me, because our brain doesn't fully develop until our mid-20s.
Okay,
so you know, like when we now look back on, well, we call them kids, but when we were like 18, 19, 20, we were like adults.
I was still a fanny at that age.
Yeah, but at the time we kind of thought, I'm an adult now.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And now we look back on them, even like early 20s, and we go, oh, it's because technically they are. Their brain is still developing. And so, you know, are they going to make the right decisions all the time? No. Are they going to be impulsive? Yes. And the things that happen to us before that age kind of stay with us, and again that's why we see adults who are still quite reactionary, who you know, still you know, their decision making, you know, when we've all done it, we've all made a decision and gone, God, why did I do that? Because there's parts of our brain that still stay, you know, they're still affected by these experiences that we had up until our mid-20s.
Okay.
And I find that fascinating. But yeah, going back to what you were talking about, the Chimp Paradox. So I've got my own little way of I'm a very visual person, so I explain things quite visually, especially for the kids, but the adults find it really helpful. It's like we've got a castle, and if we think about the castle, and we've got the drawbridge, and we've got, you know, the life of the castle, people coming in and out, and you know, doing their business, and you know, the people defending the castle are a bit more relaxed, and that's kind of how we want our brain to be. So this is our brain system, the defense system. As soon as there's a threat, what happens? Everyone kind of becomes more alert. They stop thinking about, you know, what's going on, you know, people coming in and out, the drawbridge goes up.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone coming in. You know, we're now in defense mode, the barriers are up. In that moment, are you going to be able to turn around to your neighbor and be like, oh, you know, isn't that what a beautiful day it is?
Yeah.
We can't do any of that. We can't think of anything. We are literally just focused on the threat.
Yeah.
And that's what our brain does when we go into survival mode. So therefore, making, let's say, kids going into exams, teenage kids going into exams, kids who don't do well in the education system, like we were speaking about before, they're still expected to sit these exams, feeling very threatened, feeling like, you know, they're not going to be good enough to do something, maybe they've not been able to revise as well as they want to, or whatever they're feeling, they're going in, they are on high survival mode. Are they going to be able to recall any information? Probably not. Are they going to be able to communicate any information? Probably not. Are they going to be able to communicate or receive communication from other people, i.e. people giving them instruction?
Yeah.
Probably not. And then we reprimand them for it. And it's the same with adults. And people wonder why I'm so awful in, you know, public speaking, I'm so awful at interviews. It's because we don't understand what's happening in our brain, and our brain directly, you know, is connected to our nervous system, and our nervous system is shot to pieces when we're in those states. So we're completely dysregulated. So for the most people who feel like that, that's the one piece of work that I love to do with people, is learning how we work in certain situations, why people thrive in some situations and people don't, and learning personally how to regulate your own nervous system, so that those barriers, that drawbridge, can come down even ever so slightly, to allow, you know, and it goes the same in relationships. When people are feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, when you've got a lot of stuff going on. You know, I talk openly about the fact, you know, I've got early menopause stuff going on, hormonal stuff going on. You know, men go through it as well. Men go through hormonal changes, and we forget about that. There's so much stuff going on. That also sends us into a place of survival.
I think with adults a lot can feel like an attack. Especially depending on your own personal experiences before, like, you can feel very attacky.
And it's interesting. I think I love talking to men about it, because getting the male perspective versus the female. You know, men are very hardwired for being solution focused in a problem. Women are very emotionally driven. And that can clash sometimes, and we feel like we're on separate pages, which then gets us more and more into that kind of feeling of survival. And so communication goes out the window. When communication goes out the window, we tend to argue more. And again, when there are children in the mix, they are watching, they're learning. So this is why I think, when, you know, we come full circle back to the work that we do with children, should also very much, we should never put ourselves to the bottom of that pile. We should always be up there, because essentially we are their best teachers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So all the messages you're saying about, like, resilience, building resilience through communicating properly and stuff, and there was a couple of bits in there that I should have held on to, because I've totally lost train of thought on it now. But for me, so you mentioned, like, public speaking and things like that, and as an adult, if you've not learned all that previous, then it does just feel like, I feel like it's like you move further away from homeostasis. So anything that's like a threat, basically, you just kind of shut down, and your body tells you you're going to die. Something really terrible is going to happen if you do this. Don't do it. It's way out of our comfort zone. For me, and we talked about this a few days ago as well, like the physical aspect of it. And I don't know if you're moving further into that or not, or plan on combining the two or not. But how do you feel like the physical side of things, like being physically fit, physically active, or part of a club, a group, a team, do you think that feeds back into the mental side of it and helps with that resilience, the confidence?
For sure. I mean, just my own personal experience, I started training, so I started the personal development stuff when I was in my early 30s. I've always kind of been active, like I've done hill walking and stuff, but the gym was something that I would look at and felt like I didn't belong there. And again, that was a confidence thing for me growing up, because I'd never been made to feel accepted in my, my school years, and I constantly just found things. It was almost like people pleasing. It was that if that made someone like me, then I would do it. The gym was a different kettle of fish for me. I think the first time I talk about this actually in some of my posts, but the first time I actually went to the gym, I went with a friend, and he was into bodybuilding, so he thought, I'll take you under my wing and I'll go. And I thought, great, I'll be with someone with experience. Honestly, Brett, it was the worst experience of my life. I had a full-blown panic attack, like crying, snotting, everything, ran out of there. It was horrific, because I literally just didn't feel like I belonged there. A bit like I thought I was going to die. I don't know what it was. It was my insecurities, my body issues, everything just came flooding to the fore, and I was just like, I had to get out of there. But I also knew that I wanted to do this. I had started following a lot of kind of fitness people on social media, and I knew that I really wanted to do this. I wanted to make a change in my life. I was making a lot of changes mentally and emotionally, but I knew I wanted to make them physically as well. You know, when I think you've had some form of disordered eating, you know, I believe it always stays with you.
Okay.
You can recover from it and you can live a healthier life, but there's always a part of your brain that kind of, especially if it's happened in childhood, because again, that before the age of in the 20s, there's something that kind of just connects in your brain. So for me, it was, I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be fit. Because strength to me, I'm a very holistic person. It had to be the whole package.
Okay.
So that's when I started training. I got a personal trainer. I did very well, and then I've got endometriosis. So that kind of hinders me somewhat. And then I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And then it was 2021 when I started working with Ben.
Right.
So I definitely think, for me, being able to go into the gym, and sometimes I can't lift heavy. Sometimes I can go in, even if I just go in.
Yeah.
It's like a win for
absolutely.
me. But I have definitely found that on the weirdest, most random of days, I can sometimes lift the heaviest.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can channel life's ups and downs into, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever sport it is that you're doing. My husband loves running, so that's what he's doing at the moment. So for him, and I've heard other people, I'm not a runner, but I've heard people just lose themselves when they're running. Well, like what was once scary becomes your new norm, your new comfort level, and then it just starts all over again.
Yeah.
So then, and that's the thing with the brain, is that I'm a huge advocate for celebrating yourself.
Okay.
Because this is the one thing my clients are always like, roll their eyes at me when I'm like, did you celebrate? Because when we celebrate ourselves in that moment, and it doesn't have to be a massive celebration, it could literally just be looking at yourself in the mirror going like, good job. Or like, I feel fucking awesome. Like, it's just a way of telling your brain you did good.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, how many times do we say, like, I achieved this, I'll celebrate on Friday. I'll go out with the girls and I'll celebrate on Friday. Or I'll go and have, you know, drinks with the lads and I'll celebrate.
Same effect.
Because what's happened, your brain has totally moved on from that point. That point of celebration is actually a very fleeting moment for your brain, because once you've achieved something, your brain's like, right, done that, what's next? So therefore, and then how many times do we feel that, you know, we get to a certain point that we've been working towards, and it's so anticlimactic because it just doesn't have the same feeling that we expected it would. And that's because our brain's already moved on. So we should be celebrating the teeny tiny little moments at every stage.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you've seen when I was working towards my 120.
I did see that. I think it was in the gym at the time, actually.
Yeah, and I literally, like, everyone laughs because I do a little happy dance at the end. Like, I was so freaking happy.
I think there's that emotional connection with stuff as well. Like when something happens, you remember it more when there's an emotional attachment to it. So if there is, a happy dance.
And so if you're not emotionally attached to yourself, again, and I talk about this all the time, what message are you sending to your brain? Like, if we want to be connected to how we're feeling, we want to be connected to our kids, we want to be connected to our goals, how can we be if we've emotionally disconnected from ourselves? And like I said, you don't have to do happy. I mean, I kind of whoop and, you know, wail when I'm happy. Like it's just how I am. But it's important because that then shows your brain, we can do this. I recognize that you can do this. What's next? Because how many times do we always hear, when I get to a certain goal, didn't feel like anything? How much are you going to be, you know, driven or motivated to continue if you get to a certain place and you don't feel anything? That's a huge part of building resilience and building strength, because it's building that self-trust piece that you know you can achieve something even if it feels scary. And that's when the whole cycle starts all over again. With
the adult classes that we run, and that's kind of how I got into this, and then talking to Kevin, talking to yourself, and it was just about a realization with all the stuff that we do for the adults in the classes, and you know, as adults, they're not as, they're just left to it. You just assume they can function well enough to get through a class, you know. But it has become somewhat of a community, and we're like, everybody's cheering everybody on. It just gets ridiculous. Like, everybody's cheering, especially when like tires getting flipped, there's PRs happening, and it's great. And we've seen people come in from scratch that were like, can I just like start with a smaller bar? I'm like, that is the bar that you're starting with, because they just don't believe. They've got so many limitations. Most of them just kind of self-implicated limitations that have no reason to be there, and then you see them develop over time. They're more confident, and they come in, they're happier, they're more relaxed, they try new things, and they'll push that bit further, and they keep coming back and they keep growing. And I'm like, that's amazing being able to see an adult go through that. What if we could recreate that for youth, for like 12 to 17 year olds, and get them building that now? What like could they then be as an adult?
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Well, do you know what, that ethos is exactly what I do with my business. It's the same thing, is that if we can build more emotionally regulated, it's not even about being kind of mentally and emotionally healthy, because I also think that we need to understand mental health, and we are going to have times, you know, I would like to think of myself as being quite an emotionally healthy, regulated person. But like I said, going through early menopause, and with teens going through puberty, and puberty doesn't hit at a specific time. We can be affected by hormones, at so many different points in our life, feel very emotionally dysregulated and very emotionally unstable.
Yeah, which I guess in out of context looks completely not mentally healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, if anyone's seen me, like I talk openly about this because I think we need to talk about this more, but how many times have we seen kids just erupt or have emotional meltdowns and we have no idea, and we just go, oh, it's because they're a kid. Or, well, I walked into the gym, I remember messaging Ben, and I said, Ben, I'm having a really, really rough day, and he's like, come down. And I came down, I was in floods of tears cycling, and I did my workout. I've also gone to RGU, and I've said, was one morning it took me an hour and 45 minutes just to get out of bed, because I have never had anxiety, but I've recently been feeling kind of all the anxious feels and stuff, obviously all the hormonal changes, but and I just said all I wanted to do was just go to the gym and go and buy an avocado. Like, that was it. That was my list for the morning. And I went, and I think I looked like an absolute psychopath, because I was sitting on the bench like my way through this. But I did it. And it did help, and it did make me feel better, because I was able to do that. Had I not done the resilience work before, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So yes, if we can teach this, model it, encourage it, motivate our youth to be able to, like I said, not be saying you're going to be healthy for the rest of your life, because it's not a fix it and move on. That's not realistic. They may have bereavement, grief, hormonal change, whatever it is that happens, rejection, financial, a pandemic. There are so many aspects of life that hit hard. But if we're building kids and we're saying, you could be prepared for this, you could be prepared for this, but life could also be freaking awesome. Then we are going to have young adults moving into adulthood and beyond that are going to be more able to cope with kind of all of life's ups and downs. Yeah, I think so. It's interesting you talking about the male side being different from female, and I actually did you ever watch Billy Connolly before? And he would tell a joke, go way off on a tangent, and come full circle back to it. I feel like sometimes that's how my thought process works. So I remember talking to you before we even started recording, and I never even finished what we were talking about. I went all the way off on something else. But what I was trying to get to was this was like, I wasn't particularly nervous for doing this one, but this is probably the closest I've come to just calling it off. Like an hour before, I was just sat out in the car and just didn't want to do life just now. And I think I get the importance of people having like a support network, and that's what we kind of want to try and create with the community thing, with the kids classes that we're going to launch in later in August. And with the adults classes, and certainly my own clients, like you said, like when having a shitty day and they're like, don't really want, they'll just come down and do something. I've even had clients where we just binned off the gym and went for a coffee, and it's worked well for them, and then they'll come back in the gym next time, and just help them go through whatever. Personally, I've got Danny at home, so I'll just message her and say, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've built, I'm going crazy.
mine's kind of different just now. I know that it's coming from a lack of sleep because the kids are not sleeping right now, and I know when I don't get sleep, I'm just fucking insane. And it's that I can't regulate emotions, I can't think properly, I can't process anything. It's just shit. On the other hand, I know that being fitter in the gym, being stronger in that, helps me deal with that massively. It's been going for like a couple of weeks now where they've not been sleeping, so it's starting to take its toll. But I'm just like, I've got no like gumption, no motivation to do anything. Like I just feel shit, and it's not like I'm not ill. I'm still fully functioning. I know that I could still go and smash a really heavy session, but it's just the feels inside like this is fucking terrible. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that support group. So for me it's Danny, but having something outside of that as well, like you've obviously got your support networks, but then you've got Ben as well, that you were able to come down to the gym and do that. That's well, I mean basically that's what we get paid for, isn't it?
That's why I see him on a Monday.
Half the time we get paid to put people through it and train them and coach them. The other half is just listening to the shit that you've got going on that week.
Yeah, because it all impacts. And again, you know, when we talk about, we can compartmentalize, and I think I'm very good at compartmentalizing parts of my life, you know, to get stuff done. But at the same time, you can't live like that. You've got to take into consideration, you know, sleep is a massive factor. I mean, sleep for me has been horrific the past few years. I mean, I remember I think it was 11 days without very much sleep at all, and I'm amazed that I was able to function and work. I think there's something that kicks in, and again, that's an inner strength resilience piece, that something will kick in to kind of power you through. But you know, it's really important to, you know, you might not be able to do anything about it, but it's important to acknowledge what's going on. So that, again, back to communication, you can then communicate to people like, oh, do you know what, my words aren't coming out today, I've not had much sleep, or we don't have to, you know, maybe people sometimes overshare things, but it's okay to just, you know, say to people, oh, do you know what, I'm just not feeling 100% today. And sometimes even just letting someone know takes all of that off.
Definitely. Just that communication, just talking to somebody. It's like, I feel it's the same kind of way as like, I don't know if you feel the same way about this, but if I get a heap of ideas and then I can't process them, I've got like too many, but if I write them all down, it empties my head, so I can actually then process it and think about it properly and make a plan and stuff. And I feel that is probably the same kind of way when you talk to somebody about that, just kind of shares it a bit.
Just get it out. I think about all that stuff as being like a kind of like an energy inside. Or, you know, as I speak to the kids, it's like when you feel ill. When you feel really sick and nauseous and your body really wants to just get it all out in whatever way. If you would try to keep that inside and do everything to keep it in, how are you going to feel? You're going to feel absolutely rank. It's the same with anything that you're going through. And it's same with ideas. I find that, you know, especially as a creative, like you were saying, if you've got lots of stuff going on in your head, that can drive you insane. So, you know, the whole aspect of writing, I mean, that's journaling, right? People will journal different things. I've got to say, for being a personal development coach, I do encourage people, if it's right for them, to find their own way. I'm a bit like you. I'm a stationery addict, like ridiculous. But I have notebooks galore of just like notes or quotes or pages of items that I want to do. It could be ideas, it could be like the dreaded to-do list, but my to-do list never ends up getting done. I just transfer things because quite often things change, and I'm okay with that. I don't beat myself up about that. But some people, you know, journaling for them is their therapy. They get it all out, and some people like to do it first thing in the morning, so they've brain dumped so they can go through the day. Some people like to do it at night, so that then they've emptied their brain and go to sleep. I'm a massive one for bigging yourself up in the morning. So the whole Mel Robbins kind of giving yourself that high five thing. But I tend to, you know, the way I do it is you talk to that. We've all got an inner child. We've all got that little part of us, that, you know, person before their mid-20s, before their brain developed. That person will always be with us. So we talk to that person. And then at nighttime, before bed, you just go through what you feel good about. It could be, you know, what you feel grateful for, what you achieved, and you're ending the day on a high. But I think it's so important to find what works for you. But the act of just getting it out, so whether that's verbally, you can voice note yourself, if it's writing it, but most importantly, not to beat yourself up if the things that you're getting out, if it is like a to-do list and you don't achieve anything or everything on your to-do list, you just transfer that. Like it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't get done. So getting it out, if we think of it like that, if we were sick and we were trying to keep all that inside, it would make us feel rank. So it's the same thing with our thoughts. Even if they're good thoughts can sometimes turn into manic thoughts. If it's like, if we're really excited about, if we are creating something, get them out and then come back and have different notebooks. One for bad thoughts, one for ideas. So that you can then come to each one, so it's not all scrambled.
That's a good idea actually. That's good. I think there's maybe scope for us to do something together with this youth
I'd
classes
love to.
as well.
Really love to.
I think that would be good. I think you'd be able to verbalise this stuff a lot better than me. I must admit, this is kind of I had no idea this is the way it was going to go, and I must admit, this is kind of I think I'm going to grow from this as well, because this is massively uncomfortable for me.
Oh, really?
Just like the type stuff that we're talking about, like that is stuff that I would internally talk about and I maybe talk with Danny about, but it's massively uncomfortable.
I have a way.
I believe it. I believe it. But it's been great. I think we could do something together on the youth stuff and maybe talk about that more.
I would love that. I would really, really love that.
Yeah. Do you think that's a good idea with having? So obviously the schools are a bit tied up. I'll try and wrap this up soon, but the schools are kind of tied up with a limited budget and what they can do, and they can't work directly with people so much as like massive groups. And then also you've got the parents should be ideally having a massive input as well. But then outside of the schools, do you think the schools should promote more to like the private sector and people like yourself and myself doing stuff outside of that they can be involved and be part of, that they can have that outlet and that community and that support?
Absolutely, and I think, in defence of schools, I think a lot of them are. There are, I don't know the ins and outs of all of the things that are available, but, they do. And I have worked closely with certain schools just through my coaching business. I mean, even Club Awesome, I actually went in and it was a primary school that I did therapy in. And they paid me to come in and I trialled my Club Awesome. So it was a 10-week program that I did, and I was in for like 3 months doing it with different classes. And they did pay me to come in and do that. So I think again it's all down to money. It's all down to kind of budgets and finance and things. But I think if maybe it's a case if they don't always know what's available, like, and it's up to us to make, and that's the part of our business that we don't like, is the marketing part. Is we need to get out there and be more seen, be more known for what we do. And and I do offer for every when I run my Club Awesome, I kind of run 6 places, and I tend to, if I fill 5 spots, I always gift one to a school. So I always gift a place to one of the schools, and then they sign up so that they can be part of it. So so I think that there's lots we can all do, and it's one of the things that I do. And again, this is something that I think is a great lesson in life for everybody, and this goes not just with education, but every single thing that you're hacked off about in the world. We can complain about it, or we can actually get off our ass and do something to contribute to the issue. And yes, we can complain that schools are not able to do this, that and the other, not for their own fault, or we can actually, like me, can get up and be like, well, actually, I can do something. I'm going to offer my services, even if that means one unpaid place. Like, I'm gifting that. That's me giving back to society. It's one of the Tony Robbins 6 needs, the contribution. Huge value of mine. That's one of the things that I did when I learned my values. because it's amazing how many people don't know what they value. I always do a values exercise with everybody. But yeah, contribution was a massive value of mine.
Good, yeah.
So I think it's also on us. We can complain about it, or we can put ourselves in front of these people and say, this is what I do, can I help?
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. That was amazing. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you very much.